Hello, everyone. I'm Mike Urbans.
And I'm Denise Urbans.
Welcome to It's Your Water. I'm glad you found us. Welcome to the Quick Tip series again, where we give you helpful tips on water treatment stuff. Today's topic is freeboard and bed depth. They're two common things I get asked about.
Freebird?
Not freebird, freeboard.
Oh, okay.
And the reason is you guys are filling tanks all the time. And how much do I fill it to? I get that a lot and say, how much gravel do I use? And it's fairly easy, but I kind of default back to the definition of what is freeboard. The freeboard is the distance between the top of the media and the top of your tank. So it's the free airspace, say, or free water space that allows the bed to expand up during backwash. So that's why it's so critical to get the distance right. And different medias, some are more fluffy, like aniline resin, like nitrate resin. It's almost like styrofoam balls in there. You got to be really careful. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but how to keep it in the tank. So the freeboard is really directly affected by the backwash rate and minimum bed depth, and we'll discuss that. The backwash rate, you have to look at your manufacturer's guidelines, and they usually tell you that in square footage. Now, check out my podcast episode number 30 and it cheat sheets, and that's real important, thinking of it as square feet and not cubic feet, because your tank is a hydraulic cylinder. People think it's the weight of the media. So, like cation resin's kind of light. Filter sand is real heavy. Garnet, it's real heavy. Multimedia, it's heavy. But they're thinking, well, it's real heavy. No, it's the amount of water in that hydraulic cylinder to actually lift that media. So the manufacturers will tell you, say carbon, they'll give you a range, 8 to 10 gallons per minute per square foot. They give you a range because warm water is less dense than cold water. So you need less backwash rate in cold water, if you understand what I mean. There's more lift. Cold, the little molecules are really dense and close to each other. You get more lift in cold water. So they give you a range. So anyway, so you got to just pay attention to that. So these are quick tips. So go to episode 30, brush up on that, come back here, and don't screw up your freeboard. Because if you do, this happens a lot with people on the East Coast. We have acid water and we put calcite in the tanks. So you're always filling the tank. You're always topping it off. And what happens is you get a little overzealous and you overfill it. Now the backwash rate that where you should have had maybe 40% freeboard expansion, lift space, the void space. Now it's only 20%. So what's going to happen? All that media gets backwashed into the valve and you have a disaster. Then the valve cycles through, your piston comes forward and it shreds your piston and it ruins your piston. So freeboard is very important. So check out that episode 30, Are You Cheating Enough? But what is bed depth? More importantly, minimum bed depth. It's the amount of resin, carbon, filter media that should be in the tank to be effective. So there's a minimum amount. They'll say 30 inches, 25 inches, 34 inches, And that's the minimum required depth in your tank to have water flow and be able to treat that contaminant, remove whatever you're doing, or ion exchange whatever you're doing.
So you need 30 inches minimum bed depth.
But a lot of them.
And then you have freeboard on top of that, right?
And your freeboard.
And then you determine the size of the tank?
Right. Because if you're using a 818, it's 18 inches high. You don't have any freeboard. No. But that's why you see a lot of tall, skinny tanks like 948s, 1054s. I think the 99% size tank that we sell in our industry is a 1054.
1054.
That's because it's tall, skinny, it has a freeboard. You could put a little more, a little less. You meet your minimum bed depth. A 10 by 40 tank, it's hard to meet the 30-inch bed depth when you got to have 10 inches of freeboard or you want 40% expansion. So they'll show you that number too in your spec sheet. Expansion, they'll say 40%, or they have the funny little curves. They have the graphs.
Yeah, the graphs.
X and Y, and they have the temperature compensated, and then they'll see how much expansion on the curve you get.
Yeah.
And this is for when you're rebidding tanks. Typically, you're going to trust your manufacturer that they did that right. But, sometimes cold water can get you in trouble because it's, a lot more backwash gallon per minute to take care of, or warm water. You need more water to backwash. Cold water, you need less water to backwash. So pay attention to that minimum bed depth, because especially primary contaminant, like, you're doing arsenic, you're doing PFAS, you're doing lead, you're doing nitrates. Be very careful with minimum bed depths there. Don't cheat. Is there a minimum bed depth in a packed bed? We do carbon tanks, and we fill them to the gills. But sometimes you should use a little bit of void space up there so your water can kind of disperse out. That's kind of important. So you get dispersion. What if I was saying anions, like backwashing styrofoam balls? Sometimes in a 1054 tank, the manufacturers don't give you a small enough gallon per minute drain line flow control. It's not big enough. I mean, it's like 1.7 gallons per minute. It's really tiny. And what if you need only 1.3? You got to use an upper screen, an upper collector up there, because you might not ever be able to meet the minimum backwash rate. You'll blow the resin out because it's so light. So if you go below like a 10-inch tank with nitrates resin, like a 948 or 844, it would almost be impossible to come up with a flow control that small to keep it in the tank.
So you use the upper.
Use an upper screen always I'd say always with anion resin. I don't like upper screens for, we use iron removal and stuff like that. It can clog them, but there should be no iron when you use an anion resin. So you got to use that upper screen. That's real important. And upper screens also act as a diffuser through the bed. I like them because you diffuse the water path more evenly through the resin. If you flip a valve over, next time you do a control valve, backwash valve, flip it upside down, and you'll see it's like a half moon input. You have your distributor tube pilot, and then like this half kidney bean half. That's your inlet flow. Well, that's going to drill. If you're flowing real hard, that's going to kind of come down. Like in industrial, commercially, it's super important to have diffusion because you can actually drill the bed with water, and it flies the resin around in circles, and it's like lava in there. So you don't want that. You always have your upper diffuser in commercial, industrial, and your upper screen on residential, unless you're removing copious amounts of iron and manganese and crud. So that's real important to use an upper screen. But so that's all. I just wanted to get those, these quick tips out to everybody. But so just to review it, freeboard's real important. Don't get in trouble by overfilling your tank. Typically 40% expansion is what they want. Minimum bed depth, usually minimum 30 inches. Look at your spec sheet. And use an upper screen when you can. A good upper screen that flows well. Okay? All right. Thanks, everybody. Trust the frog.
This podcast was edited by Resonate Recordings.